everybody, and welcome to our third episode of 2013. As you can see, I'm a little stressed out, so I have my stress ball here, and I'll get into that in a moment. Let me put it down so I can calm down a bit. But anyway, thank you for joining us, and I do want to remind you again to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, contact us through one card, one cub, one beer at gmail.com. And you can just subscribe to our page by clicking at the icon on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, somewhere like here. It's hard to do it when you're recording yourself and you're kind of looking in the mirror. So, but anyway, I persevere. Also, remember to support us through Patreon. You can do that by going to patreon.com. Just go to the search and put in one Cardinal, one Cub, and one beer, and you will see where you can support us on Patreon. And we do appreciate all of that. Next week, we are starting our monthly segment. We're calling it Down on the Farm. Now, what we're going to do next week is Brody and Maxwell will be here, and they're just going to talk about what rookie ball is. A lot of people don't know the difference between rookie ball, the DFL, the FCL, the ACL. Those are rookie ball leagues, okay, that the Cardinals and Cubs have. And there are differences between the two leagues, and they're not single A. Then you have single A, low single A, then you have high single A, then you have double A, then you have triple A. Well, until the season starts rolling on a monthly basis, they're going to highlight different aspects of the minor leagues and kind of explain what they're doing, the personnel that's down there, and kind of the focus of this particular level of the minor leagues. So it's going to be really exciting. So I can't wait for that. JJ, tell me, how are you doing? Do you need a stress ball, or is it just me?
I'm all liquored up. I'm on cold medicine. No, hey, you know what? I'm having a blast. I love coming and talking to everybody. It's like we're sitting around, seeing our family, and just talking baseball once a week. And this is good stuff. I'm telling you.
Somehow, I think you would have a blast at a funeral.
Depends on who it is. Yeah, I'd have a good time no matter what. That is true. It's been raining a lot, and I know we were kind of having a little drought about a month ago, and now everybody's wishing it would stop raining. The days are getting a little longer. And, it's not getting dark exactly at 4:30 anymore. Maybe it's like 4:38, but them days are starting to get a little longer. We had such good weather that my grass, I had a little grass come up. Everything was turning green. Yeah,
you can grow that now in Missouri.
Oh, it is legal. Hey, that's right. I got some friends that are always growing some. But man, what a time! And here we are. We're already halfway through January. And we're just about a month away from spring training. I know the Cubs go out to Arizona, and the Cardinals, they go down to Florida, down to Jupiter, and it won't be long. So I'm looking forward to it. I really am.
I'm excited for it.
Yes. Can I go into Cardinal news?
Go for it.
All right. Here's the Cardinal news. There is not a whole lot, but we just had a bunch of new coaches come in, and one was Matt Holliday. I was really looking forward to seeing Matt Holliday as the bench coach. I know he did. Yeah. I don't know what was going on. It's almost too soon to be quitting for philosophical differences or something. I just assumed something came up, a family obligation, something like that. But with all bad things, some good things can come out of them. And Super Joe McEwen is going to be the bench coach now. And Super Joe was like he was like a utility guy. He had a brief time in the majors, but he was played a long time with the Cardinals, and he spent 15 years out with the Chicago White Sox, and the last few years as their bench coach with Tony La Russa out there. So so another family member has come in, and maybe it's for the best. I don't know. And whatever's going on with Matt Holliday, I hope everything gets settled. I know he's got a son, Jackson, that got drafted #1 by the Padres. And then he has another son that is highly regarded too. And I believe he's still a high school athlete, but maybe he wanted to be home and see him and all that. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm sure he'll be back one day, and he's a super player, and he'll be back around sometime. Another story I have is The Gateway Grizzlies, an independent. I love the Gateway Grizzlies. If any of you want to see a good ball game with a lot of young guys out there proving themselves, a lot of them get signed by other major league teams. They're out there playing just across the river. It's a good time. I've been to about 3 games and I really enjoy it. And you got the arch in the background of the stadium. It's a nice stadium for a minor league team. But
And the concessions are reasonable. That's
oh, you took your
it's
whole family.
yeah,
Yes.
it's great.
I like the grass out in the outfield. You can take a blanket and sit on the grass out there past the home run wall. It's a good time. They have some great promotions, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. The last 4 years, the Grizzlies have honored the St. Louis Browns, and this year will be the 70th anniversary of the St. Louis Browns, and they're going to have a bobblehead, and they've had 4 bobbleheads of players that played for the Browns. George Sisler, probably the most famous St. Louis Brown player. Roy Sievers, who was a St. Louisan. They have a Satchel Paige bobblehead, and I did not know Don Larson, the Yankee pitcher who threw a perfect game in the no-hitter, or perfect game in the World Series, was a St. Louis Brown. I did not know that.
I did not either.
I didn't know. Well, there's an author in St. Louis who writes a lot of sports books, Ed Wheatley, and he's the head of the historian St. Louis Brown organization. They have a dinner every year, and it's very affordable if you want to go out and meet some major league players and just talk baseball. It's always up in the Soulard area. Well, last night he announced that this year on August 10th, they're going to have the St. Louis Browns day at the Grizzly game, and Marty Marion, the ex-St. Louis Cardinal player, they'll have a bobblehead of him in a Browns uniform. All the other Browns are in home uniforms. This will be the away uniform with St. Louis written across the jersey. And they have auctions as well where the players play in the old St. Louis Browns uniforms. I dig that kind of stuff. I really do. And they have auctions, and you can try to buy one of the uniforms from the players right after the game. I think that's great. And it's good that a minor league team does that. It's a great part of Major League Baseball history. And I'm going to try to be there August 10th and go to that. So I recommend it. If anybody wants to go, let's get the bus together and head on over there.
Let's do it. And we can do like a little 10-minute video montage of our time at the Grizzly game. We can sit in a hot tub, which I don't get. It's 95 degrees and you have people sitting in the hot tub. I'm like, what's wrong with you people?
I don't know what the heck's going on over there.
When the kids were little, I went to a game there, and we're sitting in the right field on the hill with a blanket and not paying attention to the game because, I've got 3 little kids, and Violet at the time was a baby. And I heard the crack, and I just see the right fielder backing up and then giving up. And I don't know what to do because the ball's coming at us somewhere, and I don't see it. So I just kind of cover up the kids, and the ball lands about 3 foot in front of me. But being I had 3 small kids in front of me, I couldn't run up and get the ball. Someone got the ball. I've never got a home run or a foul ball. And that was my best chance. But and I would have gotten it if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
I had a shot at one. Me and my wife had a little picnic up in the upper deck of Old Bush Stadium, and Raul Mondesi is taking batting practice, and he smoked one, and it's coming at me. And as it gets closer and closer, I don't have a glove. It's sizzling. It was hit so hard, it's sizzling. I said, I forget this, and just got out of the way, and the thing hit about a row behind us, and then flew all the way back out into the field. And that's about the closest I ever got, but I'm too big of a wuss. And but look, my hands are still very delicate. I don't have any blisters on them. Look at that.
That's right.
That's right. Well, the other thing I was going to name, I hate to do this, but I think we should put a little spotlight. A man who played 9 years in the major leagues, Ted Savage. He played for both the Cardinals and the Cubs. He played He played 3 years with the Cardinals and 2 years with the Cubs. He had a 9-year career. He passed away this week. He was an outfielder, a very good athlete, always like the fourth outfielder on a team, a pinch hitter deluxe kind of guy. Yeah, he passed away. He had 9-year career. He went after his pro career. He got his PhD in urban studies and became the athletic director at Harris Stowe University for 9 years. And then he went to work for the Cardinals, doing a lot of assistant. He was assistant director and he was a minor league instructor, traveled around, and he spent 25 years with the Cardinals after that, working out in the public relations, that kind of stuff. So sad to see him go. It's a sad that we always have to mention these players, but I just thought it would be nice when we put a little spotlight on some of these players. So anyway, Ted Savage, rest in peace, my friend. And that's my piece on him.
Well, in Cub news,
sorry to bring it down so bad.
Let me start. We actually had a big free agent signing. We signed Trey Mancini for 2 years, 1 year with an option for a second year, and I think it's about $8 million a year. So we did sign Trey Mancini. Trey Mancini, his best year was 2019 when he hit 35 home runs, drove in 97 runs. A lot of people don't know this because, it's Baltimore, it's an American League city. You don't pay much attention, but he missed all of 2019 with colon cancer. And then 2020, of course, missed all of 2020 with colon cancer. And and also there was COVID during that time. He's been okay. Well, he's been above average with Baltimore since he came back in 2021. The last 2 years with Baltimore has been pretty good. And then last year he got traded at the deadline to Houston and just had a terrible time with Houston. His batting average was below 200. He did hit about 8 home runs with the Astros. He finished with 18 home runs last year. But I think that was an aberration. I think he's good for 20, maybe high 20s home runs. And I would have liked this signing 2 weeks ago. But we just got Eric Hosmer to play first. Trey Mancini can only play first. They say he can also play a corner outfield spot. Unless we have some major injuries, I don't see us sticking him in left or right. So basically, now we have 2 first basemen that can only play first base and DH. And as I said last week, I looked at their statistics, and statistically, they were identical last year. Now, Mancini has more pop than Hosmer, but when you look at the overall numbers, they're about the same player. They're not great glove men. They're not big threats at the plate like Mancini once was. Hosmer's never been really a huge power hitter for a first baseman, so it's not like someone who you were afraid of, but he was a solid player. But I don't get this, and what really is stressing me out is what we are doing is guaranteeing that Matt Mervis is starting in AAA. Okay, I get that if you're a good team. If you're a good team, I get that. Keep him in AAA. We're not a good team. We can be a good team. When I look at it, there are 6 teams that make the playoffs in each league. When I kind of look at things, the Cubs are not in that top 6 teams. I mean, not even close, because you've got the Mets, you've got the Phillies, you got the Braves, you've got the Dodgers, you've got the Padres, you've got the Cardinals. Of those teams, probably the weakest 2 teams that I mentioned are the Cardinals and the Phillies, and we're not near them. The Brewers could be better than us. I don't know. We will see. I don't have any worries about the Reds or the Pirates, but when you're also talking about wild cards, the Giants, I think, certainly have a leg up on the Cubs right now. So I'm kind of looking at us, maybe the 7th or 8th best team in the league. So we have an outside shot to make the playoffs. And that's kind of all I've been saying is we have a shot this year, whereas last year we didn't have a shot. But we have a better chance of not making it to the playoffs. Our best situation, our best opportunity will be the next year when Pete Crow Armstrong comes up and we get some money off the books and we get some more free agents. And Brendan Davis hopefully will come up. Sergio Alcantara, we got some guys in the minors that are Ben Brown pitching, Caleb Killian, Wisniewski. We could be good next year in 2024. This year, we have to have a lot of things go right. That's why I don't get this. Mervis should be up and playing. He raked last year from single A where he started through triple A. Nobody could get him out and nobody could keep him in the ballpark. So go ahead, let him come up this year. If he does not do good and struggles, that's okay. Rizzo did his first year, but I don't see this being a year where we are going to go all in for the playoffs. So I don't get why we signed Trey Mancini after we signed Eric Hosmer. I just do not get it. It's going to guarantee, barring injury, that Mervis starts in AAA. I know he's going to get some time this year in the majors, but I want him at first base. I want him at DH. I want him on the opening day roster, and I want him to have the opportunity to make it as a big leaguer without having two dinosaurs blocking your way. And that's what we got. That's why I'm stressed. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me. And last week you said something about player service time, and I said, I don't think that's a thing anymore. So I did some research. Yes, it is still a thing. I cannot believe the players who have to be really stupid at this point, because one of the things that they harped and bitched about is, hey man, we got to get rid of this because it's no fair that a guy could, stay in the minors till April 15th and then, that's the sign of your service time. Well, you negotiate the contract, players. Your people negotiate the contract. They present it to you. You sign off on it. That's how negotiations go. Why did you let this go? What you're doing is you're incentivizing the Cubs to keep Mervis down for a few weeks, the Cardinals to keep Walker down for a few weeks, to keep these really good players down a few weeks, to get an extra year of service time. The player screwed up on that. I just cannot believe, as much as they harped on that they did not get that in the new CBA. So this is what we got for another 5 years. Okay, now I'm going to mellow out a bit.
Do you think both of those players are going to make the team? Both Trey Mancini and Hosmer? Do you think they're both going to?
Oh yeah,
they're both okay.
They're both going to be on the team.
Okay.
And I don't mind. I would, for all I care, they could have just turned away from Eric Hosmer. I would rather have Mancini. And I know that Hosmer is dirt cheap and Mancini's $8 million. Cubs have the money. It's not like this is an issue. It's like talking the difference between, I don't know, a couple hundred and 500 between you and me. It's there. So if you had Mancini, you got a right-hander. If you have Mervis, you have a left-hander. You have a perfect platoon situation at first, and they can both play DH and so on and so forth. I just don't get it. And it just ticked me off that this is the avenue they went. So by the way, that lineup I said last week, that ain't working. That ain't, nothing's happening with that.
Man.
So we signed 3 international free agents, which is really cool. We signed a 16-year-old shortstop, Durnesh Valdez, $2.7 million. Hey, how's that for an allowance?
Yeah.
A 17-year-old infielder, Angel Cepeda, for $1 million from the Dominican Republic. And we also signed a 17-year-old shortstop, Ludwig Espinoza, for $1.5 million out of Venezuela. So these kids are giving up their paper routes and they are just trading it in for the ball gloves. But anyway, the Cubs have done pretty good with international free agent signings, and I think this is I think they did good. Not like I'm an expert on any of these players, but I do trust their scouting department in Central America. And I think that Probably did good. Andrew Chafin, left-hander, pitched for Detroit last year, still on the block. There's rumors that he may come back. Chafin pitched for us in 2020, had an excellent year. And what I really like about Andrew Chafin is he's not a baseball fan. He's a left-hander who's been blessed to throw the ball really good. And that got me to think we should do this someday. Research baseball players who weren't baseball fans,
All
because
right.
there's some of them
Yeah.
out there. You know,
Oh, I
a few
bet.
weeks ago, I brought up Lenny Dykstra, who had no idea who Steve Carlton was the first time he faced him. Said, "Well, I'm
I
going to
remember.
kill him," you know.
Yeah.
The White Sox, I used to watch. I think I said on here, I used to watch White Sox games whenever I was growing up because they came in through our cable through this little bitty station in Chicago. And my favorite pitcher was a guy named Britt Burns,
I
who
remember him.
who was a phenomenal pitcher, and then his career was cut short because he had a degenerative hip problem. He was not an athlete. He didn't know much about baseball. Um, in fact, back in the day, this has held me in JJR. JJ, would you ever throw a 3-2 changeup back in 1978? No.
Probably no.
Oh, no,
Yeah,
no,
they throw
no.
heat.
Yeah, you go with your fastball, okay? 1978, I think it's the last out of the game, and he's got a 3-2 count on somebody, and he throws him a changeup. And after the game, I remember him saying, "I didn't know I wasn't supposed to throw a changeup." He really didn't know much about baseball. It's really cool. But Chafin's out of that mold. You know, he's a gearhead. He likes his muscle cars and stuff like that. But man, when he pitched with us a couple of years ago, he did great, and I hope we can get him back because as it looks now, we've got Brandon Hughes, and that's our only left-hander in the bullpen. And Chafin would be a good veteran presence that the fans love. The fans in Chicago loved him, so hopefully that will work out. Ryne Sandberg, we did have the Cub convention last week, and it was announced that Ryne Sandberg is going to get a statue, which is really cool, and that will be
Very
the
cool.
sixth statue outside of Wrigley Field. And also, Ryne Sandberg and Sean Dunston have been elected to the Cubs Hall of Fame. So that's really cool. Now, during the convention, the fans, you know, we haven't had a convention since 2019 because of COVID. The fans asked Ricketts about Sammy Sosa. Why isn't he back? And that's a controversial thing. And Ricketts, who did not own the club when Sosa was with the club, so I don't know why he's kind of got his panties in a wad about this. He basically said, well, Sammy's got to do some things to, you know, get in our good graces or anything. Well, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I don't like Sosa as a person. He cheated. He did steroids. I don't like that. He cheated. He used a cork bat. Oh, he was just doing it to give the fans a show during batting practice and brought the wrong bat up to the plate. But, you know, but what really the straw that breaks the camel's back for me is that the last game of 2004, he left the team. You don't do that. And Sandberg was kind of siding with Ricketts that there are roadblocks that Sammy needs to overcome. I love Ryne Sandberg, but I never hear anybody talk about this. Ryne Sandberg quit on his team in 1994.
Oh, I didn't know
He
anything about
left
that.
during the season. He retired. Why? Because he was going through a divorce. And then he came back a year later, played again for a couple more years. Okay. Ben Zobrist a few years ago. I need to take time off during the season. Well, he took the rest of the season off. He's going through a divorce. Okay. I've been through 2 divorces. I don't remember being able to take a year off and saying, I got to deal with my divorce. Baseball players get divorced all the time. I'm sorry, that's not a reason to quit on your team. It isn't. Just because you're making millions and millions of dollars and you can afford to take the time off doesn't mean that ethically you should. Sorry, it's a little personal for me. So I love Sandberg, I love Zobrist, but they did something that I think they're not held accountable for. And I know it's a different time and a different era, but I'm just saying, ordinary Joes like me, we have to go to work when we go through a divorce. And my second divorce was really rough. I did not miss one day of work. I had to reschedule things all the time. I had to meet with lawyers at different times. I had to reschedule my work schedule all the time. It wasn't fun. And on top of that, I didn't have $100 million to go home to. So I don't know why Sandberg is saying, okay, Sammy's got some roadblocks. Okay, not only did Sandberg quit on the Cubs when he went through a divorce, in the middle of the season for no reason at all when he's managing the Phillies, he quit. Now, this is showing me a pattern. I love Sandberg, but I don't know if he's not Jesus. Okay, he's not Buddha. He makes mistakes too. I don't know why he's being such a hardliner on Sammy. They're not saying put Sammy in the Hall of Fame. Why can't Sammy come back and throw out a first pitch? Why can't, McGuire has been forgiven by the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah.
Bonds has been well, there was never any forgiveness because San Francisco thinks the Bonds walked on water, He didn't walk on water. He just hit a lot of balls that floated on water. But anyway, all these steroid era people, with the exception of Palmeiro, who really screwed the pooch with his big mouth, but all these steroid era people, okay, we're not forgetting what you've done, but we've forgiven you. I just think, you know what? I don't like Sammy, not my favorite person, but geez, man, let him throw out a first pitch. Bring him back. I will admit, when he was playing, I knew he was a selfish player. But man, I got wrapped up in the 60 home runs like everybody else. Of course, I wasn't thinking juice at the time.
Same here.
But so that's another reason why I'm squeezing the old stress ball here.
I remember Sammy even before all the major home runs. He'd run out there, he'd play hard, he'd sprint out to the outfield. The crowd would go crazy. He was loved and adored. And we all make mistakes. Times passed. Probably if it was me, I wouldn't say anything about another player unless it just had a problem with that other player. And as Cardinal fans go, we love Yadier Molina. Legend. We love him. He's gave his heart and soul to the team. But last year, it just didn't seem like, I'm probably going to get a few letters for this, but his heart wasn't quite in it. I know at the beginning of the year, he seemed a little out of shape and he wasn't getting all the playing time. And he kind of went home for a while. He had a basketball team. Went down there, and I remember, privately, a lot of the Cardinal fans I know were like, "What's going on with Yachty? He's down there watching a basketball team. What the heck? What about us?" As we're looking at the numbers, the days are going by, and there's only so many starts Waino and Yachty can have together. I was like, "Oh no, please don't blow this." It's so close. We've come so far. Come on, Yachty. So that did upset a few players last year, and we love Yachty, and it was just a little glitch in the story, but he kind of took off for a while, and we needed him. The other catchers we had weren't even in his, they did okay, but Yachty's just so much better than they were, and we'll miss Yachty, but I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not meaning to crap on Sandberg. What I'm saying is, why is Sandberg saying there's roadblocks that Sammy needs to overcome? Because I don't know why, because we have this image that Sandberg is squeaky clean, that we give him a pass for quitting on the team. It's not as good as it used to be. I have a near photographic memory. People say, how do you remember all this stuff? You call up a card, you say, who's this guy? It's just the way I am. It's not that I'm smarter than other people or something. I just have the ability to look at something once and it just sticks with me.
And he is very smart.
No. Ask me to do geometry or algebra, and I can't do anything like that. But anyway, I just cannot. I don't understand, and none of the fans called him out on this. Why he stepped up to defend Ricketts, who I don't know why he's got the axe to grind with Sammy. Why he stepped up and said there's roadblocks that Sammy needs to overcome. Maybe it's because he played with Sammy, and I know Sammy wasn't a popular person in the clubhouse. There's that story, Sammy blared his music, and not everybody likes the kind of salsa music that he listened to. And I guess after 162 games, for 10-year stretch. You get sick of it. And one day after the game, someone had smashed his boombox in. So I know he wasn't a popular player, but I just don't think you know, if you're going to be so moralistic, Sandberg, you did quit on 2 teams. So, and we've forgiven you. So, all right. I'm going to breathe easy again. I'm going to end Cub News and Rumors on a good note.
All right.
Matt Mervis is on Team Israel. Yes. So he's going to be playing in the World Baseball Classic on Team Israel. So
fantastic.
I feel better
now. That
stress
ball is going to be worn out.
Well, we are going to spotlight 2 teams. I'm going to spotlight the 1969 Cubs. And I know I said in my text to you that I was highlighting the 85 Cubs. I meant the 69 Cubs. Why type the 85 Cubs? I guess it's because that's who I'd done a few months ago. But and JJ, you're going to highlight the 78 Cardinals?
The 78 Cardinals.
Well, let me hear about the 78 Cardinals.
All right. Are you ready for this? This is going to be a blast. It's a magic time, 1978. And I'm going to tell you this, from 1960 to 2022, it's the worst Cardinal team by record that we ever had. I know what you're saying. You're saying, hey, Jay, why don't you pick a good year? Why do you got to pick the worst year? Because I'm going to tell you something. Good things can come out of a bad year. 1978, or as it's known as the second year of Vern Rapp. We've talked briefly about Vern Rapp here. Vern Rapp was a disciplinary. I'll get to Vern in a minute. In that year, the Cardinals were, they were, let's see, what is that? It's 69 and 93. 69 and 93, and it's our worst record since 1960. Not a good year. No, not at all. We were 21 games out of first place, but we finished in 5th place. We still finished ahead of the stinking Mets. Yeah, we'll take that. That's a moral victory right there. Only 1.2 million people went to the ballpark at Busch Stadium that year. 1.2. Last year we hit over 3 million. I looked around the league though, and a lot of teams, attendance was down. Attendance was down at that time. That was not a bad year, not a good year. It was a little down, but I'm telling you what, today the baseball is alive and well. So 1.2 million fans, and we've only had 13 losing seasons since 1960. So us Cardinal fans, we're used to, being 500 or better. So 13 losing seasons since 1960. And that's fantastic. 62 years. That's fantastic. I've got a few artifacts here from the 78 team. And first of all, I got a pocket schedule. I'm a big fan of the pocket schedules, and you can see it's got like the psychedelic art on there. And in the late 70s, all the pocket schedules had that kind of style to them. I kind of like that. So I'm sharing that with you. I got the media guide from Oh, no, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Oh, no. All right.
It's green.
Yeah, it's green. It's on the AstroTurf, and that's the problem. It's got a glove with a ball in it, a bat, a helmet, and 2 shoes. It's 1978. Now, the media guide now is like $25. Back then, when I bought this, it was $2. It was $2. So, but the one now is about 10 times bigger than this one is. Oh, you can kind of see it there a little bit if I hold it just right there.
Yeah.
That's the media guide. I have a scorecard from the 1978 team. There we go. Let me see if I can turn it as well. It's the same picture that was on the other one. And I do have something to share with you. This was a game against the Dodgers. And our starting lineup that day, we only had we got 3 hit that day by the Dodgers. And this is 1978. Our starting lineup was Brock, Templeton, Hernandez, Simmons, Jerry Morales. That's a name we haven't heard in a while.
Former Cub. The basket catch.
Oh, yes, that's right. The basket catch. Morales only played a couple of years with us. Kenny Reitz, the Zamboni machine at third. Jerry Mumphrey and Mike Tyson, the second baseman at this time. He moved over to second when Sizemore left. And the pitcher that day was Bob Forsch. On the Dodgers side, and I'm going to be telling you why I'm mentioning this, but this is really neat to see the lineup that day. We lost the game 6-0. We got 3 hit, but this was the Dodger team. Leading off, Davey Lopez, Bill Russell, the shortstop, batting second, Reggie Smith in right field, Ron Say, the Penguin, at the cleanup spot, Steve Garvey, some of the biggest forearms I've ever seen, batting fifth, Dusty Baker, yeah, just won the World Series now. He was the left fielder. Rick Monday in center field, a hero in my book when those people tried to burn the flag and he ran by and grabbed the flag from him in the outfield.
He still has that flag.
He still has that flag.
Yeah.
Steve Yeager was the catcher, and pitching that day was Rick Rhoden. He pitched a complete game, 3-hitter. Brock got 2 doubles, and Simmons got a base hit. So we got 3 hit. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is, to me, we had a bad year. But in the 1970s, there was 4 National League teams that just ran roughshod over everybody. And that was, in the other division, the Reds and the Dodgers. And in our division, it was the Phillies and the Pirates. And they were just head and shoulders better than everybody else. 75, 76, you got the Reds, the big red machine, winning back-to-back World Series. In 77, 78, you got the Dodgers going to the World Series but losing to the Yankees. 79, you got We Are Family with the Pirates winning the World Series. 1980, you got the Phillies beating the Royals. So those 4 teams just dominated the National League. And we just couldn't do anything against them. Now, that year, I'm not making excuses. We weren't very good. And basically, I have so many great memories of those years. And you can enjoy an absolutely bad season. I am going to 1978. Since we're doing a time period, I'm going to set the stage. And I'm a trivia, and I just love this kind of stuff. But the movies of 1978, we got Grease. Everybody knows Grease, classic. Animal House, yeah, that's a classic. Every Which Way But Loose, Philo Bedloe, Barefisted Fighting, and Midnight Express, teaching those kids not to sneak drugs out of Turkey. Yeah, some good moral stories for those kids. Music, 1978. We don't realize how good we had it. We had Double Vision by Foreigner, Macho Man, the Village People. Yeah, Randy Savage wouldn't have a nickname if it wasn't for them. You Really Got Me Now, Van Halen, Life's Been Good, Joe Walsh, Kiss You All Over. Yeah, man. Well, listen to these songs, classic songs. So
Now,
anyway, and we had disco, the New York Mets of the music.
I hated disco.
Hate disco.
I still do.
Oh, same here.
The only good thing that came out of disco was Donna Summer.
Oh,
Love Donna Summer.
bravo.
My daughter collects vinyl, and she bought a Donna Summer album that's got a 1978 calendar that is 11 inches wide and 4 foot long. And this week I framed that sucker. It cost me $50. Well, she paid for it. $50 to frame that. And boy, it looks good though. But
what album was that from?
I can't remember. It was not.
I remember Bad Girls.
It was not on the radio. On the radio, it was one right before on the radio.
Could have been Bad Girls.
It maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
There you go.
So
we know too much about Donna Summer. Listen to us. Oh yeah, all of disco songs. Shake Your Booty. Yeah. Boogeyman, all that kind of KC and the Sunshine stuff. Country music was good though. We had the Gambler, Kenny Rogers. He was Garth Brooks before Garth Brooks. Kenny Rogers was the man with that big old beard and mustache. Mamas Don't, Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson. It don't get no better than that. Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys. Sleeping Single in a Double Bed, Barbara Mandrell. Oh yeah, now we're talking. Soul music, the OJs. Let's see, 3 Times a Lady, the Commodores. Kind of gives you an idea what was going on. And then of course, the New York Mets of music, the disco invasion, which lasted about 3 years, I think.
And 1978 is when Jimmy Buffett put out Cheeseburger in Paradise.
That was 78. See, you're good. I did not know that one. But getting back to Vern Rapp. Vern Rapp was a coach that came over. He was in his second season, his last season. When he came to the Cardinals, he was the coach after Red Shandings. And in 1976, the Cardinals had a horrible year. And they brought in Vern. And in 77, we had a winning year. We had 83 wins. And but I think his discipline, and as Vince said last week, he was into no facial hair, cutting your hair short. And those players from the 70s were the young men of the 60s, and men just wore their hair. A lot of them wore their hair longer back then, and it was more of a style. If you look at those old 1978 Oscar Gamble cards with the afro, and Ted Simmons with the
Ted
long hair.
Simmons, yeah.
Oh yeah. So he came in, he wanted discipline. I understand they might have needed a little discipline, but it wore thin after that second year, and he was gone. Let's see. In 77, let's see. I got so many notes on Vern. He was born in St. Louis. In 1946, he signed with the Cardinals as a catcher, and he pretty much played his whole career down in the minors. He didn't make it up to the pros. He worked down there as a manager, public relations. He was a broadcaster. And in 1969, he worked as a Reds AAA manager for 7 years and led him to one championship. So he was very successful, and he paid his dues. And I have nothing. The man did nothing but do what was expected of him. And he was a baseball lifer. He came to the Cardinals, and he had this famous argument with Al Hrabowski because Al had the Fu Manchu and the long hair, and he made him cut it. But then Augie said enough of this, and he let him grow. He said, if a Fu Manchu helps you get batters out, grow that damn Fu Manchu. So Al did.
In my local paper in 78, the Alton Telegraph, there was a cartoon, and there's this baseball player, and he's got hair out the ear, and his manager comes up to him and says, "I got bad news for you. You've been traded to the Cardinals."
That is great. I would love to have that cartoon. Oh yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Vern was gone early in the season. Jack Kroll, one of the base coaches, took over, and then we hired Kenny Boyer, a lifelong great Cardinal who passed away way too early. And at least he got a chance to coach the team for a couple of years. We didn't have much more. We were better, but we didn't have much more success than we did with Vern. I have one more little artifact to show you from the 78 team. And the reason I bring this up, this is the yearbook. Every year they have a yearbook. It was $1 here. I think it might be like $15 now, but it's the night. Let me see if I can find a spot right there. Oh no, don't go out on me. We can do it. The 1978 St. Louis Cardinals. There's a cartoon there. Every year the Cardinals have like a slogan, like flying high or go Cardinals go. Well, that year was we can do it. Never have a song like a rally song. They would play the song before every game.
It was a bad song.
It was like a up with world kind of.
We can do it.
We can win it all. Well, let me tell you, we hardly won anything. Every time they play that song, I think people were booing. And by June, they canned the song. I try to find the song, and I can't find it anywhere. You got off easy, people out there not hearing this darn song. But they played that song. Like I said, we probably won 30 games, and they played that song, and it was gone quick. But with that being said, 1978, some of the good things. We had Jack Buck and Mike Shannon, and everybody of my age, pretty much, there's like 3 or 4 generations there that just love Mike Shannon and Jack Buck. And if we had another day with those two or another season, we gladly take it. And listening to them, even though it was a losing season, it was a treat listening to Mike Shannon and Jack Buck. We didn't know how good we had it. So in 1978, they were in their full glory. Mike cutting the jokes. Jack was very funny and very smart and a good baseball man. So that was one good thing. But I want to show you this roster. I mean, first of all, in our starting lineup, we had 2 Hall of Famers, Ted Simmons and Lou Brock. Who wouldn't want to take that? Simmons that year hit 22 home runs, and he was our lone. Every team gets an all-star player, and I understand that. But Ted Simmons was an all-star, even though we only had 1 all-star that year. Ted had 80 RBIs, 22 home runs, and he hit 287, and that was kind of an off year for him. Shoot, I'd take that any day. I'd take that any day. We had a young Keith Hernandez playing first base. And Keith Hernandez, now this is 78. In 79, he becomes the MVP of the league, co-MVP with Willie Stargell. So you can see the beginnings of good things coming. Ted Simmons was a big piece of a puzzle that Waddy traded away to build those 80s teams. Keith Hernandez, maybe one of the greatest defensive maybe he is one of the greatest defensive first basemen in the history of baseball. We had Mike Tyson, a young guy who's 26 at the time. He had a nice career, but us Cardinal fans liked him, but he was not an all-star. He was just a good, serviceable player. Gary Templeton was our shortstop, and Gary Templeton was only 22 years old that year, and he only hit 2 home runs. Busch Stadium's a big, spacious park, and he wasn't there to hit home runs. He stole 34 bases, had 181 hits. A 22-year-old that got 181 hits. That's pretty darn good. But this is something that's incredible. Ted Simmons that year had 77 walks, and he had 39 strikeouts.
Yeah.
If you got a team like that, you can win. These guys that are, they might hit 10 more home runs, but they're striking out 150 more times. That's remarkable. Keith Hernandez, 82 walks, 68 strikeouts. But again, it's a different time. Like Vince said about throwing a changeup on 3-2, you just didn't see it. And if you struck out 100 times, you weren't going to be in the big leagues in these days. But we had Gary Templeton, and later, of course, everybody knows Gary Templeton gets traded to San Diego for Ozzie Smith. At third, a Cardinal favorite, Kenny Reitz, not the fastest guy, not a big hitter, but the guy could play defense, and they called him the Zamboni machine. In the outfield, we had Lou Brock in left. Lou was hurt that year, and this was 78. And 79, it was his final season. So we're kind of saying farewell to Lou Brock. In outfield, George Hendrick, who was a big part of that 82 team. He was center fielder in 78. In 82, he becomes a right fielder. But that year, George hit 17 home runs. That's the way the Cardinals were. Usually, like Simmons hit 22, George hit 17. We just didn't hit many home runs. And we had Jerry Morales, the ex-Cub, the basket catch man, out in right field. Some other players of note, and some of these, I know you know them all, Vince, but we had Tony Scott and Jerry Mumphrey, and these were 2 very good outfielders that played a lot. We ended up trading Tony Scott for Joaquin Andujar. I believe it was 1980. We got Andujar into St. Louis. Mike Phillips, Steve Swisher was a backup catcher for the Cardinals. Did he go with the Cubs eventually?
He started off with the Cubs, yeah.
He started out with the Cubs.
And I think he may have finished with the Cubs. I think he had 2 cents with the Cubs.
Okay. All right.
Could be wrong.
Roger Freed, and I remember you said going to that game and seeing Roger Freed.
Steal a base. I've seen Roger Freed hit a game-winning 3-run home run in person. I've seen him steal a base in person.
Oh, well, you're it. You're the one.
I am it.
Dane Orge, who was a big part of the 82 team, and in 85, he was a big part of the reason the Royals beat us in that World Series. And a young Kenny Oberkfell got to play just a few games that year, but Kenny Oberkfell. So you can see the beginnings of the 82 team. Our pitching staff, the starters were, the main 2 pitchers were Bob Forsch and John Denny, 2 young guys that came up through the system. And Forsch is probably one of the 15 greatest Cardinal pitchers of all time. That year, he was only 11-17, of course, on a losing team. And yeah. John Denny was 14-11. Pete Vukovich, our third starter, was 12-12. We ended up trading him. Whitey ends up trading him in a big trade. Silvio Martinez, there's a name from the past for you. Yeah. And
threw a one-hitter in his major league debut.
I remember that. We thought, who is this guy? Signed him up for Cooperstown. Well, pump the brakes a little bit. He was okay, but he was serviceable. And then Pete Falcone, who we thought was going to be a big timer, but that year he was only 2-7. And in the bullpen, we had Mark Littell. Grabowski ends up getting traded over to Kansas City for Littell, and we get Littell from Gideon, Missouri. I do know that. And other relievers, John Urea, I think it's Barney Schultz or Buddy Schultz.
Buddy Schultz.
Buddy, that's the son. And then Lopez, was in the bullpen, and we ended up trading him to Detroit, and he was a big part of that, big part of the 84,
84 team.
the
Senior
Tigers.
Smoke.
Senior, yes, very good. Well, let's see. I've got so many notes here, but I will say this. I'm going to say this, and this is going to put a smile on your face. So you can put down that stress ball. Um, that year, um, back then we would play each team in our division 18 times. 3 3-game series at your park and 3 3-games series at our ballpark. That year, and I'm sad to announce this, the Cardinals versus the Cubs. We went 3 wins and 15 losses. Oh man. Yeah. Golly. Man. So, sometimes you got to go through some rough times to enjoy the good times. And that definitely was some of the rough times. But you know what? There was a lot of good things to watch that year. Here's some of the highlights. Bob Forsch threw the first of his 2 no-hitters against the Phillies 5-0 at Busch Stadium. Vernon Rapkins dismissed, and that's a highlight in my book. Kenny Boyer gets hired, and Kenny Boyer is one of those guys on that fence out in left field. So we got Brock, we got Simmons, we got Boyer. Ted Simmons sets a record for most home runs by a catcher, and it's 22, and that record still stands to this day. That no catcher has beaten 22 home runs in a season. George Hendrick had a 7 RBI game at Atlanta. And Gary Templeton led the National League in triples that year with 13. And there you go. 1978. It's a year a lot of people want to forget, but I tell you what, I enjoyed that year. I learned a lot. The dynasties of those 4 teams at the top, I mean, we're losing at least 10 games to each of those teams. There's 40 losses, easy. And we may be going through something like that now, where the Cardinals are a good team. But when you look at us versus, it's going to be tough against the Padres. The Braves are very, very good. The Dodgers. I mean, some of these teams are just elite with all these free agents. The stinking Mets. Nothing would make me happier than beating the Mets and knocking them out of the playoffs. Oh, that's the World Series to me right there. So anyway, Vince, that's the 1978 Cardinals right there.
A couple things. You mentioned one of the players for the Dodgers, Reggie Smith, who played 1 year, 2 years with the Cardinals.
I believe 2. Two.
Yeah, if you could, maybe I'm going to give you some homework.
All right.
Kind of find out why the Cardinals traded him, because he was very popular, I don't know if he was that popular in St. Louis. He was a very good player. Even though the Dodgers had Garvey and Say and Lopes and Russell, Reggie Smith was kind of looked at as the silent MVP of that team. In fact, I remember Don Sutton and Steve Garvey got in a little altercation in the dugout or in the locker room one year because Sutton made some statements. Everybody knows that the real MVP of this team is Reggie Smith. So, he's kind of faded into obscurity, but he was a really, really good player, an all-star a few times. And I just always wondered why the Cardinals got rid of him. Maybe I should Google that myself. But also on that Dodger team was Rick Monday, who was traded over from the A's to the Cubs. That's how the A's got Billy Williams, and Billy Williams finished his career as an Oakland A. Most people don't know that. But Monday came to the Cubs, became a star, had a really good year when he hit over 30 home runs, and then he went to the Dodgers. But I thought it was fascinating. You're talking about the lineups for that day. You talk about on the bench with Swisher, who used to be a Cub. Ken Reitz was in the lineup, who became a Cub. Mike Tyson became a Cub. So there was a time and place when the Cardinals and Cubs would actually do trades with each other.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want to talk about all those trades, but there was a time when it was like, yeah, if you got a player that works for you, we got a player, Yeah, we can do
Well,
something nowadays. That just
did
doesn't
we
happen.
make some sort of trade with Billy Wisdom? Didn't we? We had him and we sent Wisdom over to y'all. Or I didn't know if you got him as a free agent, but he was with us
I
for a while.
I think I think Wisdom went somewhere else
Oh, okay. All right.
before I have to look that up. I just know that he was highly touted, picked by the Cardinals, and just kind of got buried in their minor league system.
Well, Arenado, when Arenado came, that was kind of the end for him, because we had a few third baseman prospects and Walker's had to learn the outfield and Gorman's had to learn second because they were both third basemen too. So that kind of moved things around a little bit when he showed up.
Well, I'm gonna make my dad cry if he listens to this. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna talk about the '69 Cubs. I was 3 years old. I barely knew what a Chicago Cub was, which was probably really good. My dad, on the other hand, was, a young man, and he was excited because the '69 Cubs were really good, and boy, we were going to the World Series, and everybody knew it. And we had the best team in the National League, hands down. And we had the pitching, we had the offense, and everything else. My dad got remarried in '69 and was on his honeymoon in Florida. And this tells you how times have changed. In order to keep up with what the Cubs were doing, he had to wait for the paper to come out the next day because local news wasn't covering what the Cubs were doing. There was no internet, there was no ESPN or anything, but it was just a different time. Listen to some of these players, okay? At catcher, we had Randy Hundley, all-star,
Yes.
18 home runs, 64 RBIs, but he wasn't a hitter. His best asset was he was a catcher. He caught 151 games that year.
Stud.
Our first baseman, Hall of Famer Ernie Banks, 23 home runs, 106 RBIs that year. Our second baseman, All-Star Glenn Beckert, who hit 291 that year. Our shortstop, Don Kessinger, All-Star, who hit 273, 8 home runs, 61 RBI, 4 home runs, 53 RBIs. What people don't realize is this was an era where you didn't have shortstops hitting a lot of home runs. A great shortstop, was a glove person first. That was it, and any offense you got from them was a bonus. So Kessinger, said, he only hit 273. That's pretty good for a shortstop in those
Yes,
days.
yes, sir.
Third baseman, Hall of Famer Ron Santo, who hit 29 home runs, drove in 123 RBIs that year. Drove in RBIs, I said it again. Our left fielder, Hall of Famer Billy Williams, 21 home runs, 95 RBIs. Center fielder Don Young and right fielder Jim Hickman. Hickman hit 21 home runs, hitting 8th in our lineup. And I'm going to get to Don Young pretty soon in a story. So we had a great offensive team. We had a lot of Hall of Famers and All-Stars. And our pitching staff was led by Ferguson Jenkins, who went 21 and 15, pitched 311 innings. He started 42 games, completed 23 of them, struck out 273 batters. He was not our best pitcher that year. His ERA was where's the ERA at? 3.21, which is pretty good at Wrigley Field. But our best pitcher that year was Bill Hands. Bill Hands was let me find his record here. He was 20 and 14 with a 2.49 ERA. He started 41 games, completed 18. He threw 300 innings on the dot. Our third pitcher was Ken Holtzman, 17 and 13, 261 innings, 3.5 ERA. And our fourth pitcher was Dick Selma, who was 10 and 8, for
That's
the back.
good.
Pretty good, over 500. Yeah. Our bullpen, which wasn't used a whole lot, but it was Phil Reagan. He was our closer. He did end up saving, I believe, about 17 games. Yes, we also had Ted Abernathy, who saved 3 games, but that was kind of our bullpen. We relied on the starting rotation to pitch very deep or complete games, And if your fourth starter needs some help or your third starter needs some help, you do have a couple guys in the bullpen. This team was so good. August 19th, we are 8.5 games ahead of the Cardinals and 9.5 games ahead of the Mets. What happened to us?
What happened, Vince? What happened?
When I became a baseball fan, I was watching a Cub game. I was maybe 10 years old, and Jack Brickhouse and Lou Boudreau were talking about the 69 season. And they were talking about, there's no players left from that 69 team. And it got stuck in my head. Hey, we must have won the World Series in 69. It was a few years later I found out, no, we're not known for winning the World Series in 69. We're known for this colossal collapse. The Mets had been horrible. This was their 7th year in the league, and they had never finished above 500. Many times one year they lost 120 games. They were bad. They were real bad. The seam started coming apart. It seemed, haha, no pun intended. In a game against the Mets on July 8th, the 9th inning, there was a ball hit out to our center fielder, Don Young. And he kind of alligator armed it as he was approaching the wall. Jenkins is on the mound, and so it's ruled a double. Don Clendon comes up, and he does the same thing, hits one out there, and catchable ball. Don Young doesn't catch it, goes for a double again. And both hits were ruled doubles by Ken Boswell and Clendenon, excuse me. And after the game, Santo got into Don Young's face and basically said, you blew the game, blah, blah, something you would never see today. But he called him out on it, and he was very mad. He's very angry. Not only that, DeRocher, in the press conference after the game,
Leo,
he didn't pull any punches. He said, yeah, Don Young blew the game. Well, to Santo's credit, he did the next day in front of the whole team apologize. DeRocher's not going to apologize, So even though we didn't immediately start falling apart then, that was an indication that there was something a little wrong here when your manager throws you under the bus to the press when you're a first place team and you're up by so much. Why would you even do this? So fast forward, going into, like I said, August 19th, we had an 8.5 game lead against the Cardinals, 9.5 against the Mets. So going into September, we have the substantial lead, and we had a good August. I think we went like 17-8 in August. We had a really good August. Going into September, we started falling apart. On September 9th, we had a game in New York against the Mets, and we still have a lead at this point. And in the top of the 4th inning, a black cat appeared in Shea Stadium. It walked behind Santo, who was on the on-deck circle, and crossed right in front of the dugout, and it stared down Leo DeRocher and then skedaddled into the stands. I know that St. Louis loves their squirrels hitting the field.
We love the squirrel.
Like that, but, this was the original rally cat, I guess. So that was an omen, and we could not put it back together. And a lot of people have speculated what happened to that 69 team. The Mets did have the pitching. They had Matlack, they had Seaver, they had Kuzman, they had Ryan, they had Gentry. They had the pitching, but they did not have an offense. And God love them, somehow they went to the World Series and scored enough runs to win.
They beat Baltimore Orioles that year. Orioles
against a great Orioles team. But they did not have the team that the Cubs did. So what happened? Well, as you can see by the innings pitched, and we basically went with a lot of 4-man rotation and sometimes a lot of 3-man rotation. DeRocher completely taxed the starting staff. And they started to fall apart. 3 of the 4 started to fall apart in September. Fatigue was setting in. The only pitcher who had a really good September was Hands. He had a good September, but Jenkins, Holtzman, and Selma just kind of started to really feel the fatigue and just couldn't get any victories going and couldn't really pitch to their capabilities. Coupled with that, that was the first time people started to say, you know what? Perhaps one of our problems is that every other team plays at night, whereas we play during the day when it's hot. So not only are we playing day baseball when it's hot, DeRocher overworked the pitching staff, but he also overworked the position players. When you've got a catcher catching 151 games in the summer heat of Chicago, and people say, oh, Chicago's not that hot. Chicago gets really hot in the summer, you know, right
Yes,
there
it
on the
does.
lake. It's very humid. I put most of the blame on DeRocher. And his management style at this point was kind of hands off. Oh, here's the lineup, here's the pitchers, and I'm going to sit back and do whatever I want to do. He was not the most hands on manager for the Cubs at this time. It's possible that if the Cubs had a younger manager, a more, I don't know, a guy without the pedigree of DeRocher, who had a huge ego and he was going to do things his way, maybe they had a manager who would have said, okay, hey, Hunley, you need a day off, maybe 2 days off on the road. You can't catch all these games. Um, we're gonna skip over you, Fergie. We're gonna skip over you, Hands. You know, first start. You know, every now and then, and just push you back a day, give you a little bit of extra rest. Maybe things would have been different, but they weren't, and it was a sad crash. And that was really now we had last been in the World Series in 1945, so this would have been 24 years since the last World Series we were in. That's not a tremendously long time expense. To give you an example, when's the last time the Pirates were in the World Series? 79. Um,
I, I believe so. I believe
yeah,
79.
yeah, and we talk about World Series. We talked about the Royals went so many years without a World Series, which was I don't know 35 years or something like that. It's not easy to go to the World Series, and the Cubs didn't really have the stigma of being a choking team at this time. This really solidified it. This was a team of chokers. This was the lovable losers. This was the laughing stock. And that really carried the Cubs and became their MO throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and 2020s. We kind of shed that a little bit. But this was what gave us the understanding or the pop culture phenomena that the Cubs were a bunch of losers and a bunch of choke artists. And then, as the years went by, the goat curse, that was set in 45, that became a bigger part of folklore. Everybody started learning about that. I didn't know there was a goat curse until 84 when the Cubs were in the playoffs for the first time. They're trying to break the curse of the goat. What goat? What goat did what? I didn't know about that until I was in college. So it kind of started that trend that we were choke artists, and we did nothing in 84, but kind of proved that we are choke artists. And then we had the playoffs in 2003, choke artists. 2000, 2008, or 2007, 2008, when we had really good teams, especially the 2008 team, we just go in there and lay an egg. So what I really appreciate about Joe Madden is before the playoffs, he told his team, or for the World Series in 2016, he told them, said, listen, something weird's going to happen. It is. It's the World Series. It happens to every team. What we got to do is not say, oh my gosh, here we go again. We're the Cubs. We got to do, yeah, weird things happen to every team. You play through it. And that was probably the best thing that team heard to get through that World Series. That, yeah, something silly is going to happen. Like Rajay Davis is going to hit a home run off of Aroldis Chapman. Something weird's going to happen. We got to overcome it. We did overcome it. But 1969 team, goes down in Cub lore as one of the great years, one of the years that could have been. So much talent on that team, and we just got tired at the end and couldn't close the deal.
That has happened to a lot of
Sorry,
teams.
Dad.
And momentum, I'm telling you what, as a fan, you can just start to see it like, oh no, an error, or some guy comes, or Ozzie Smith, who hasn't ever hit a left-handed home run, hits a left-handed home run. It's just something odd that happens, and you just play your game. It's a long season. But when that momentum starts going, sometimes it's injuries. You just can't get away from the injury bug. Or sometimes teams are just meant to be. I really, in my heart of hearts, think the Cardinals were better than the Phillies. But when they came back in that game one, oh, you could just see it happening. And I did not know that they were going to be the underdog in every round and go all the way to the World Series. And they gave a far superior Houston Astros team a good fight. You know, they rode that momentum until it just kind of ran out at the end. They were just going to have to play perfect to beat the Astros. But that was a very good Cub team. And like you said, they just got worn out at the end. But the Mets just seems like it was meant to be or something. They were just on fire. Everything happened to go their way down the stretch. It happens. It happens to Cardinals all the time. And sometimes we're the recipient on the other end where things just happen our way too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, JJ, you want to explain our game?
Oh, we have a new game coming, a new contest. I am very excited about this contest. And this contest even has, let me find it here. Oh, Lord, wouldn't you know it, just when I needed it most. Let's see, right here. Who can it be now? That's the name of this contest. Who can it be now? And what it is, it's a contest that every week we're going to name, or we're going to name a player. And every week, it's sort of like a password, or to tell the truth. We're going to give you a clue. And in the first clue is going to be very broad. And then each clue is going to get a little more concise on who the player is. First of all, it's going to be a player that played from 1970 to present day. And it must be a player of note that the average baseball fan would know this player's name. All right. So that's pretty simple right there. And if it's okay with you, Vince, can I give you a try? You want to try? We'll do a practice run here. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So the first clue I'm going to give you is a Chicago Cub pitcher. So that's a pretty broad clue right there. And
Okay, I got it.
All right. You were going to take a guess?
The Chicago Cub pitcher is Bill Bottom.
No. And he played from 1970 to 2022. The second one is he pitched before 2000. So he didn't play after the year 2000. So
I've got it.
All right.
Bill Bottom.
Well, all right. I don't want to tell you how to guess, but if you've guessed one, you might want to guess
wrong
something
again?
else. You're wrong again. Your third clue is he was a reliever. So here's your three clues: a pitcher, played before the year 2000, and a reliever. And he was a
See, that stumps me because Bill Bottom was a starter.
Oh, yes.
Lee Smith.
Lee Smith. So the answer
Are you
would be
serious?
Yeah, so each week we'll give a different clue. I don't think it's going to take anybody more than 5 or 6. You get one guess per week, and at the end of the next week we'll tell you who won, or we'll give you another clue, one of the two. So the 6, so that you got it in 3 guesses, and that's great.
It was a guess.
No, that's very good. See, because Lee Smith is a Chicago Cub reliever. The average fan knows who he is. The next clue was going to be African American. The next one was going to be Hall of Famer. And the last clue was going to be he played for both the Cardinals and the Cubs. So anyway, so each week it'll get more precise. So may I give you another one? You want to try one more?
Yeah, I'm having fun.
All right. This is cool. All right. So again, Chicago Cub pitcher.
Bill Bottom?
No, Bill Bottom, no. Yeah, Bill Bottom, if you're listening or watching and you're still with us, come on the show. We got your number one fan right here.
Bill,
All
you
right.
once struck out 4 in 1 inning. Okay, so
Hey, all right. The second clue in the second player, Chicago Cub pitcher, and he was a starter.
Greg Maddux.
No, very good. Very good. Very good guess. Okay. The third clue is he started and ended his career with the Chicago Cubs.
Fergie.
No, no. The fourth
Oh,
clue.
he started with the Phillies. He
You
pitched
start
a
with the
little bit.
Phillies.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
your fourth clue. And I'm Vince, I feel the mojo. I feel that momentum happening. You're gonna get it here. He once struck out 20 batters in one game.
Oh, Kerry Wood.
Kerry Wood. So there you go. That's how it's played. Each week we're going to give a clue. It's who can it be now? And all right, for our first week. And Vince, how can they send in their clues? They can send email to me or you or
Yeah.
what's
Email at one card, one cup, one beer at gmail.com. And I know we have uh some listeners slash viewers who know JJ and will just tell him, or they just know me and will just message me. We will count them, but um, you know, get a hold of us some way. Not telepathically. I don't know, JJ, can you get telepathic messages? I can't.
perhaps.
Okay. So
But this is we got a prize. This is the prize. You mentioned this man on the 1969 team. I hope this comes through, but it's Don Kessinger. It's an 8x10 autograph picture of Don Kessinger. Now, he's in the Cardinal uniform because he was both a Cardinal and a Cub, but I will include a Chicago Cub baseball card of Don Kessinger as well. The card will not be signed, but it will be a Chicago Cub baseball card of Kessinger and an 8x10 autographed by Don Kessinger. So that's a pretty cool prize.
yeah, very
And
cool.
very cool. So because the last contest was Cardinal centric, this one's going to be Cub centric. So your first clue is a player that played from 1970 to 2022, a Chicago Cub hitter. So that's your first clue. It's a hitter.
So it's not Bill Bottom.
Not Bill Bottom. It's not Bill Bottom. It's not a pitcher who could hit. It's got to be a hitter. So that's your first clue. If no, you get one guess and no family members. So none of me or Vince's families are involved. It's going to be fair and square across the board. Take your guesses. Somebody could win it the first week. And I tell you what, off the air, Vince, I'll let you know who it is.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'll let you know because Vince doesn't even know who it is. But I have 7 clues here, and I think we'll probably get to 4th or 5th clue, and that'll be it. And somebody will guess who it is. All right.
Okay.
All right. Who can it be now?
Very good. You know what?
What time?
Hold on. I accidentally muted you. Can you unmute yourself?
Am I back?
You're back.
All right, I'm back.
I
Is that
went
what
to
time
reach
it is? Is that what time it is to unmute me?
I went to reach for my baseball cards and I hit the mouse, and next thing I know, whoops. So
Hey,
I am opening a 1990 Nature Boy Ric Flair package.
woo! Yeah.
I thought of that pun all by myself.
Oh, very good. Look, we're all over the place tonight. Well, my set is 2019 Series 1 Topps Baseball. It's got the Babe and Aaron Judge. 2019, and who would know that later Judge would break Bruce Siegel's season. Or no, Maris. I'm sorry, Maris. I apologize. But anyway, Ruth and Judge together there on the front of the package. Very cool.
I'll go ahead and bat lead off.
All right.
I got a Flair Action Series Dodger. It's got a little quiz on the back. Let me ask you just one of these.
Okay.
In what stadium did 92,706 fans attend the fifth game of the 59 World Series?
I would guess maybe Polo Grounds?
The Los Angeles Coliseum.
The Coliseum. I did not know they played the World Series in the Coliseum.
Okay. My first player. Wait a minute, I got two stuck together here.
Oh, okay.
Come on. This is one of the hazards of opening an old package.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I got Donnell Nixon.
I remember him. Yes.
His dad was president for a while. Didn't end well.
And he was not a crook.
No. Oh, former Astro catcher Alex Trevino. Pretty good career.
Oh, yes. Okay. He's got that stern look in his face.
Ooh, for the Red Sox, Carlos Quintana.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Former Cub, 1998 runner-up for the Rookie of the Year to his own teammate Jerome Walton, Mr. Dwight Smith.
Dwight Smith. That was a good 1-2 punch you guys had then.
Yeah. Oh, Hall of Famer, Rockin' Robin Yount.
Fantastic. He's a guy they brought up early because they weren't going to be good. You mentioned your guy. They brought him up. He got through his aches and pains of being a rookie and become one of the all-time greats.
He did. Oh, for the Twins, Gary Wayne. Don't remember a thing about him.
No Gary Wayne.
Hey, former Cub catcher, former Cardinal catcher, Joe Girardi.
Class guy. He made the announcement when Darryl Kyle had passed.
Yes, he did.
They suspended the game. Very classy guy.
Former pitcher Dennis Rasmussen.
Or is it Harry Rasmussen?
No, Dennis.
Oh, that's Eric. Oh yeah, Eric and Harry were the.
Yeah. Oh, we have Major League prospects.
All right. Anybody?
Tom Drees and Dan Howitt.
No.
I don't remember their induction into the Hall of Fame. Oh, former Dodger pitcher Alejandro Pena.
Yes, I remember him.
Oh, I always love this name too. From the Rangers, Fred Manrique.
I remember that name. I couldn't tell you a thing about him.
I just love the name. Kevin Gross.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Old Expos.
Oh, I love this guy when he played for the Royals, late 80s, early 90s. Advocate for Tourette's syndrome because he suffers with it, Mr. Jim Eisenreich.
Good player.
Yep. And here's a former Cy Young Award winner who went to the Royals in 89, I believe, and then decided to suck. We have Mr. Mark Davis.
Oh, he had potential.
Oh, yeah, he won a Cy Young. He saved like 44 games, and so the Royals signed him as a free agent. He just quit playing good. Oh, we brought him up before. Very underrated player. Really good outfielder for the Jays and the Yankees, Mr. Jesse Barfield.
Very good.
That's who I have.
That I tell you what, I'm looking at these 2019 cards. I love them. I like the style on this. Is Tyler Skaggs. You remember him?
Passed away. Yes.
He first of all, so much potential right there. I love those Angel uniforms. I like this card. It's got his name embossed right there with the emblem right there by my finger. Very nice cards. And they're putting a little more statistics on the back of these 2019s. A very good player, Arizona Diamondback player, Robbie Ray. I believe a Toronto Blue Jay now.
Yeah, did not have a good playoff appearance.
No, he did not. Very talented. I tell you what, this looks like it's the time for the Blue Jays this year. This could be their year. This is a Cleveland Guardian player. It's still back then it said Cleveland Indians, but it's Cleveland Guardians. Jan Gomes. Is he with you guys now?
He's our catcher. Jan Gomes.
Right there. I tell you what, a very solid player. He'll do a good job for you.
I have no problem with him. I have a problem with the backup we chose.
So. Yeah. Tampa Bay Devil Ray, or Rays, I can think is what they're known as now. Brandon Lowe, kind of
Brandon Lowe.
an
Yes.
action card right there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's very good. They really did a good job with the photography. And evidently the checklist that year for each team was their home field. So here's the Houston Astro field. If I can get that on there. Shoot. Let me see. There it is right there.
Ah,
And of course, when I think of Houston, I think of Albert Pujols calming the crowd down as he knocked the ball over the train tracks right there.
I think
Oh, go ahead.
I think of Earl Campbell running for 199 yards on the Dolphins. I think it was when I was a kid.
Earl Campbell. That was a man playing with boys. Biggest legs I ever seen. He just
Yeah,
ran over
like,
people. He
yeah,
didn't run. He didn't run side to side. He just ran over people.
yeah.
Golly. Josh Harrison of the Pirates. And I tell
I
you what,
love Josh Harrison.
and I love those gold uniforms, the 70s right there. I still, the Pirates were so good, I still get scared when I see those uniforms right there. Man, they just came in and kicked butt. They
Yeah,
have
Harrison's always been one of my favorites since
very
he's
good
come up.
player.
Just always loved the way he approached the game.
Same here. They have a retro card here. Again, this is 2019, and it looks like a 90s, or I don't know, I forgot the year that is, but that's a Don Mattingly Yankee card right there.
Oh,
Yeah, Donnie Baseball right there. Oh, St. Louis's own Max Scherzer. This is back when he was with the Nationals right there.
yeah.
His bobblehead has the two colored eyes on it. Even his bobblehead has the two colored eyes. Every time I get a Royal player, I get this guy. I'm not griping. Danny Duffy, where are you? There you are, right there. Yeah, Danny Duffy in action.
He's haunting you.
He's haunting me. If you notice, I skip over players that I can't pronounce their names. And of course, we mentioned this guy. If we mention a guy on our podcast, it seems like he shows up in the baseball cards. But the great Yadier Molina, I
There
think
he is.
he's hailing a cab getting out of town to go watch his basketball team play right there. You know we love you, Yachty. And back when he was with the Dodgers, Corey Seager, before he went down to Texas, there he is. A very good player. I heard he got rated the greatest slide. I seen him slide home, and he just kind of glided down the bag and popped up.
It's beautiful.
Man, I needed a chiropractor after I slid. And a great Blue Jay, and I believe he got traded. Tesco Hernandez, the outfielder.
Yeah, I think he went to the Mariners.
He went to well, I tell you what, the Mariners, look out. They're building good young players. And I got to see the Blue Jays play last year in Kansas City, and that was a treat. Very star-studded team.
Yeah.
That's my pack right there.
All right. Well, that's our show. Wasn't it fun? Was this not the funnest show we've ever had?
It was a good time.
I think so. So anyway, join us again next week when we will unveil our new monthly segment that will be called
Out on the Farm?
Out on the Farm. Yeah, something like that. something about the farm system. So we're very excited about that. We were to have a guest next week, but she had an emergency. Well, not an emergency, but she had something that was suddenly thrust upon her. So we're going to get her back sometime in February. So very excited about that. We also have Mr. Jeffrey Phipps going to join us in February too. So we got a lot of stuff going on. So thanks a lot for watching. Remember to tell your friends, tell your enemies, and as long as they're breathing and alive, tell them one Cardinal, one Cub, and one beer. We're right here. Bye-bye.
Take care.